Legacy Maker, the All Sports Network.
Welcome to Commonwealth Sports Talk, Season 3, Episode 4, with your hosts, Joe Dillard Jr., Lamonte Thomas, and Derrick, Alston. This week's special guest, Ricardo Marsh, former NBA player and owner of Ricardo Marsh Training.
Welcome to Commonwealth Sports Talk. I'm your host, Lamonte Thomas. I'm here with my main man, JoJo D. And this is episode 4, season 3, Commonwealth Sports Talk. And of course, this podcast is designed to teach and inform the listener and the viewer of the positive advancement of Virginia athletes, born or raised, and definitely born and raised. Joe, what you got for them?
Man, I'm just hyped that you went through that. You know what I'm saying? I get to co-sign and be that guy to say, yes, sir. You know, this is brought to you by Legacy Sports and also Grind and Pray and Kane Beats. So, you know, without further ado, we're going to go ahead and bring our man in. Let's go ahead and jump right into it, bro.
Let's get it. We got Ricardo Marsh.
Let's go. Commonwealth Sports Talk, bringing it back.
Welcome back to Commonwealth Sports Talk. I'm your host, Lamonte Thomas. We got JoJo D with us, and we got Ricardo Marsh with us. Thanks for stopping in, man.
Hey, man. Thank y'all for having me, man. Thank y'all for having me.
We talking about a guy who's literally built an entire program from training, right? So, like, this is grassroots at its finest right here. So we kind of want to dive into that and talk about that. But first, you know, let's talk about the origin. Let's talk about your story.
Yeah.
You know, straight up out of NC. You know,
yes, sir. Born and raised.
Carolina boy.
Carolina boy all day, man. Was back and forth between like Durham and Hillsborough, all the way up to high school. Then I went to my mom moved to Mebane. Stayed up there a little bit, but I was most of the time I was in Hillsborough, Orange High, CW Stanford, Cameron Park. You know what I mean? So that's what my roots at right there. That's what my roots at.
Okay.
A lot of ballers come out of there. So let's talk about how you were the first person to win MVP of both the East-West game and also the North-South Carolina game in the same year.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Like I said, man, I had so many good guys on my team, man, and it could have been anybody's night. But I was on both teams that won. Number one, we played together. And I might have had a couple more mismatches. And after those games is really about how you start. So if you start, you know what I mean, that night, then the coach gonna kind of ride you at least to the end of the game. And then, you know, let the players decide. So like I said, the East-West game and the North-South game was very similar, except for North-South game was North Carolina versus South Carolina. Right. So that was beautiful. That was beautiful for us to all be able to play together against another state. It was right across the border, so we knew the cats we was playing against. We played at Winthrop University, and you know that went well. At the time when I was committed to ODU, my coaches from ODU came down. They gave me a little extra fuel to my fire. I had my best friend down there with me, Rashid Wright, who's still my best friend to this day. Yeah. He was with me, so it was a beautiful thing. And then after that, we all went to colleges from ODU, Virginia Tech, NC State, Kentucky, and we all kept in touch. You know, it was all love.
So That's dope. North Carolina versus South Carolina, state versus
Yeah, that was
state.
cool.
That's gotta
That
feel
was cool.
like all the world. Like that's what we do in the Commonwealth. We trying to keep this inside Virginia love going. So although a Carolina boy, we love the route you setting, dog. We can't let that route go too far, bro. We can't.
Oh yeah, for sure. Hey man, a big part of what I do here, and it's not like I go out of my way to do it, but everything that we've done has been so organic. I want like the guys and the young ladies that are local who is like me, like you know, a little bit about my high school career. In ninth grade, I played on the ninth grade team. I didn't even make the JV team. At the end, I didn't get playing time until the end of the year until two guys got kicked off. Kicked off the team. By that time, that's when I moved to Mebane. By that time, I had made up my mind to go back to where I kind of grew up at in Orange County. And my 10th grade year, I made the JV team. They pulled one sophomore up to varsity. Everybody looking at my face like, yo, you ain't mad, you ain't getting pulled up. And I just come from humble beginnings, man. So like, I was just glad to be out there playing. So my JV year, that's when I got my wings, though. Like playing JV, my confidence, I had a little wind behind my back. And, that whole team and my coaches moved up to varsity that following year. And we ain't never looked back, man. We set a couple of records. We did our thing.
That's dope.
That's what's up.
That's dope, bro. Like that's adversity at the very beginning too. And just sticking with it. Just like sticking with it constantly, man. So the vision of training, how has this Marsh program evolved? Like, let's talk about that. Let's talk about the program of having individual training, group training, any type of way you want it. The knowledge spread, we're going to give it to you. And then how does it evolve into a program now, man? How's that come to fruition?
Well, first of all, my last 2 or 3 years of playing overseas, I had like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. My son at the time was getting a little older. I wanted to be here for my family. I was on my, 10th, 11th, 12th year. Like I said, this coming from somebody I never knew anybody who played in college when I first, in high school. And then like once I could start getting the looks from college, once I got to college, I didn't know a lot of people that played pro. So just like I helped these kids, those guys that helped me, all they would tell me is, I'm like, yo, how can I pay you back for this? They was like, no, you just got to help the next one. So number one, that's where I train. So, after I did decide to retire, it was hard, man, because I still had offers in my inbox, man, to play overseas. It was January.
Bro.
Solid offers, man. And then Team Loaded, shout out to Team Loaded. Team Loaded, Mike Blackwell, my guy, he brought me over. This is when Isaiah Todd was in 8th grade.
Yep.
He brought me in to John Marshall, did a training session there. Ty White pulled me to the side, set me up. Hey, you're going to be our head trainer up here, Team Loaded. And by that time, I had a couple of clients. I already had my one-on-one clients on the side already. And, that was a season for me. It was a good season, kind of ran its course. And then I started moving by myself. So Lindsey Burnett, who owns the building right where I'm at now, it's called the Grind Factory, but it's the Grind Factory at Stockyard. So the building is Stockyard. We got my gym. We have a CrossFit gym, Stockyard, and we have a hair salon right in front. So she kept telling me, yo, I got some space. I'm like, man, everybody got space, man. Whatever. You know what I mean? So I come over here, and it was nothing in here except a pole. So we worked it out. We put it used to be like some kind of bouncy house or something. I don't know. But anyways, so I put the floor down, put the rims up, 3 rims up. I was like, yo, I don't need no full court, even though we kind of got one in here for what I'm gonna be doing, skill development. So I started off one-on-one, and then I started studying. So I was doing everything from like player to player at first. And I began to study Alan Stein, Gannon Baker, some of the greats, guys to have, utmost respect for. These 757 guys, Gannon, I'm sure. So they started teaching me through their podcast how to shape what I'm trying to do to maximize my time and maximize what the kids are getting from what we're doing. So I got that moving. Rasheed Wright, who was an instrumental part of my growth. I needed to duplicate myself. Me and him are one and the same anyways. So, we just kind of took it to the court as far as on the what we're trying to serve, right? Like us serving the community. We just took it from us being like the same person to like transferring it over to helping people, basically. So he was the first person to help me kind of expand. So then we go from one-on-ones where I'm by myself to being able to do maybe groups and one-on-ones with me and Rasheed. Then we started doing camps, stuff like that. So I started learning, all right, well, these kids right here, they only coming to the camps. Okay, cool. These kids right here, they coming for the group work. These kids right here, they more serious, in this season, they're more serious. They're doing the one-on-ones. So we kind of just made sure we met everybody where they was at and for what they needed. And that's what we still do to this day. And then probably my second year here, at the end of my first year here, going on my fourth year over here. After my first year, my parents started standing in my face talking about AAU. I'm like, I don't like AAU.
Bro, I remember this conversation. I remember this conversation coming to the grind factory. Hey man, they telling me X, Y, Z is right there, but I don't want to do it.
Right, I was like, man, I ain't doing no AAU. I don't like AAU. It's too much shit in the game. Can I say that? My bad.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's too much shit in the game, and it's more than basketball is going on. Like again, coming from where I came from, I played with the Carolina Warriors. I played 1 year. I played on the same team that Julius Peppers, Irvin Murray, Craig Dawson, those guys. They were above me a year, but I came in up under them. It was ran well. We didn't play a lot of tournaments, and people don't know this, but I actually got my first offer from Clemson with no AAU. So when I saw we went to team camp at Clemson and we turned it out, and then they called me back and they came to watch me. Then they offered. So some of the stuff that I saw at an early age, right? Fifth grade. My son was in fifth grade at the time. I was just like, it's a lot more going on in basketball right now. And some of these kids might end up hating basketball because of what's going on. So I went to Boo. Real quick, Boo's right-hand man, Willie Brown, right? So I had my internship at ODU, and it just happened to be with a guy named Willie Brown, right? So Mr. Brown, we did the Senior Olympics together. That was our project. I'm a sports management major. We did the Senior Olympics, which is basically AAU tournament for seniors with different sports. So, I showed up. I showed up every day. I did what I had to do. I had good support. He led me well, and that went pretty well. So when I went to Boo, and he was like, "Hold on, this is like after playing 13 years overseas. I ain't seen him talk to Boo." And I said, "I'd like to start a team." That's what I said. I was like, "Yo, I'd like to start a team. My son's age group. I got 4 or 5 of his little buddies. I just want to make sure we run it the right way." And we sat back. We kind of talked to each other a little bit. And he was like, "I can show you how to have a whole organization." I said, "All right, cool." So that one team turned into 3 teams that year. And then we went from like 3 to 13 or something, man. And because of the training piece that we had in place, some people look at us like we kind of skipped steps a little bit. But the truth was we had the clientele.
Exactly.
We already had the clientele. That some people, like for example, like a Jada Board. So, Jada was with me, but I wasn't going to try to take her from Boo per se. But there might have been some other kids that was a little bit under that level who needed a little bit more TLC. So those are the kids day in and day out. Like I say, like those are the kids that are like me. Back to that, the kids that are like me, who if you stood them on the wall in 9th, 10th grade, they wasn't going to be the ones you picked to play mid-major ball and play pro and whatever.
Correct.
Those are the kids.
Just ain't this visual ball player yet that you see.
Exactly. Those are the kids that like every day, like, yes, I want their skill development to get better. But I want them to feel good about themselves. I want them to be confident. I want them to be good teammates. I want them to be leaders. You know what I mean? I want them to own every step they take. You know what I mean? So that's what wakes me up in the morning, to see a kid come in here with their head down. They can't look at you in the eyes. And when they leave, they talking junk. You know what I mean? Like that's what does it for me, man. You know, yeah, we got some kids and some pros that are, you know, they're very advanced, obviously, of course, and I can relate to them too. So I think my niche is being able to relate to the kid who don't believe in himself at all, to the kid that's in the NBA who might believe in himself too much sometimes, and everything in the middle. So
that's what's up. That's what's up, man. Just hearing how you started that, man, and how you connect, you know, with the kids, man, with the youth. That's what it's all about. But I like that. I like how you talk about relating to those kids, man, because those are the ones who hold on to that, right? They remember that not so far back where they remember they didn't have but so much confidence, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even your story, you talk about not really getting the nod or the pick when you're in ninth grade. You could tell that story. You remember it vividly, right? Like I felt it was like it was yesterday, right? Like,
yeah, man.
Then you know, you still the first year in Turkey. I'm pretty sure that held with you 21 points a game.
Yeah, man. Like, yes, sir.
Oh, I'm not good enough in ninth grade. Let me show you right now.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Somebody, since I've been older, Kobe. Well, I wish I put Kobe in my background. I got Kobe in here, man. But Kobe, he would always try to find a reason. Like, for example, when Charlotte drafted him, he would always be like, "Well, they drafted me and they traded me." Even though he never put a Charlotte uniform on. Like, so it's always something that you got to find to make yourself go. It's going to be days, like we all have them. It's going to be days where you ain't as energetic. Your legs might not feel as fresh as they did yesterday. The jumper might be off today. Sometimes you got to play through it. It's almost like you got to fake it till you make it, confidence-wise sometimes. You know what I mean? So I'm here to let the kids know, like, it's okay. Like, it's okay to not want to come work out. But you're going to come in here and get some work in. When you get done, you going to look over your shoulder and be like, man, I did that. Yep. You know what I mean? That's something that can apply to all facets of your life. Taking the trash out at home, doing your homework, whatever it is. And we're real big on how you do one thing is how you do everything. And that's something I'm still working on day by day, to be an example, you know, to these kids and to my own kids too. You know what I mean?
Joe, he got me wanting to coach again right now, bro.
I got like 3 mental notes already that's about to dominate too.
You giving me the itch again, Joe?
Look, I'm gonna take you back to Lonnie Blow we had on the show, and he brought in culture, and he said exactly what you just said. If I get my kid and I can trust him to be responsible and do his schoolwork and be responsible and take out the trash, be responsible and do this, then I can trust him on the court when it comes time to be responsible to do these plays, set the pick, set the best pick, do your best. That's all he can ask for them to be raised up the right way. So that was my first thing. And then, you know, your vision as a trainer coming from one end of the spectrum to the other and being relatable, that's how I look at it as a coach. And that's going right with you, LT, on the coaching piece. It's amazing to have that gift to know both sides of the spectrum. It is a weird time to learn it. Some people break while learning it. Some people don't. They shy away from it. But when you are in a position, and I'll speak very clear to my audience, when you can deal with a low poverty in group and you can be relatable and you have more money than them, but that's not the point. You can be relatable, you fit in. And then you go to the upside of town and you can be relatable and you can fit. Those things bridge gap or builds bridges. And that's what a coach is essential to doing. And you're doing it through training. Like, training is the ground root. Like, trust comes from training before it comes from the coach. Like, you've got this is the new thing people talk about now. Well, my trainer says this is what I should do. To the coach. Back in the day, and I'm not taking out no coaches, but because there's so many forms of a coach. The coach used to say, yeah, whatever coach say goes, you know, you don't do nothing but what coach say. Coach is even telling you how to move with your girlfriend, you know, don't do that with her. Then you do that. So you have to, you know exactly how that affects the bottom line. And I love that you have that platform and you're taking advantage of it. Like, Commonwealth Sports Talk had to get you on, bro. Like, I knew you were so busy, but I was like, I'm going to find him. And I bet you,
I hit you right back, too.
Be in the gym.
Yeah, facts.
I bet you be in the gym.
We finished training at 9 o'clock, man. So, most definitely. But it's good, too, man, to be able to kind of be a resource for the coaches as well.
Yes.
To be a resource. And I try to stay out of their way during the season. So different parts of the year, it's kind of different kind of training going on. Like when kids come to me during the year, we're getting a lot of game reps. We're getting a lot of touches. Like, well, we always get game reps, but we're getting a lot of touches. Like, for example, where they receive the ball in their offense. Maybe we've been working on. I got a couple kids that play. They 6'5", 6'6", but they play with us. They play the 1, 2, 3. When they go to their school, they might be playing the 4 or 5. So, first of all, I'm ready to meet that conversation every year because I was the big kid who had perimeter skills. But I'm like, dude, right now at your school, you're like the biggest kid by 3 inches. So you got to do what's best for your team. Now, the things that we've developed over the summer or whatever, you don't throw those things away. You always play to your strengths, but you do what your team needs you to do. So I'm gonna try to be as in tune as I can with the coaches, the parents as well, because sometimes, even with my own kids, sometimes when you might say, "Hey, the sky's blue," and then your kid might roll their eyes at you, and somebody sitting right beside you, like, "Yo, the sky's blue," you know that, right? And they're like, "Oh, the sky's blue," right? So sometimes I'll talk to the kids for the parents.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
that's what the parents come and tell you. They always say it. They go, "Man, I just can't get through to him. I tell him he got to do the play. He got to do." And then you come along. It's just a new voice. It's a different method.
That's right.
It's a person who can recognize it like you just said you do and be able to pass it through to a player to pass it to the next player. It's all that matters is you get the message.
Yeah, and sometimes, man, like, I know you know this, Joe, like, I can come in here and be training and say my back is to the door. Sometimes I could tell when a kid's parent walk in the door without even turning around. Sometimes they get real tight. Sometimes now they go from just missing shots sometimes to every time they miss a shot, dang, man, like they gotta be perfect. You know what I mean? Like I could see that, and it lets me know why certain kids have certain limitations, like in the game. Like people are like, why this stuff don't translate over to the game? And just for the fellow trainers and coaches in the area, I think everything should be about game reps, game speed, game reps. You know what I mean? Like when they're younger, you got to develop. You're developing the skill, but you're doing it from reps. And I'm not talking about 10, 20 reps, hundreds of reps. Same thing, reps to where you can't get it wrong. That's what translates to the game. You know what I mean? And then also so much psychology in this, just having the kid believe in themselves so much that when they don't have a good game, they still can sleep at night. Nobody's perfect. You know what I mean? Even little stuff like that, man. So
train of thought, baby. Train of thought.
Yes, sir. And we got control over that. We got full control of our thoughts.
Yeah, I love that, man. I love that. Again, it's so, you're relating to them on a level where, just like Joe was getting at, before they see you as the coach or, even trainer, they see you as a relation, a direct, you're a direct influence on them, because they're like, man, he's been there. He can speak my language. He's on my level right now. And even though you're in a teaching position, to them, it's just, oh, well, I mean, it's proof that somebody's done it, from where I am.
Oh, yeah.
So I can do it myself.
Oh, yeah. And most kids aren't, 7 feet tall, had it since they were young. Most kids aren't like that. And there's some, I say 1% kids and guys, that just have it. You know what I mean? There's some people that just have it. That's a blessing. Like, we all got something. But when it comes to basketball, just some kids is like, damn, this kid's a spectacle. Do you lift weights? No, I never lifted weights before. Yo, this kid is crazy athletic. You ever did squats before? Nah, coach, I never did squats before. You know what I mean? So it's a blessing, to be able to see those kids. Those kids are like freaks of nature almost. But for the average kid, though, man, they need to be with somebody they can relate to. And sometimes they'll come in here and look at me a certain way because of some of the things I've been able to blessed to do through basketball. But I use that just to have their attention. Once I got their attention, I can get in there. I can dig in there then.
That's it.
Yes, sir.
Like a true master.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Like a true master. You got to break that code and get in there and have them run through that wall for you, man. Because
exactly, man.
Their potential is untapped and they don't even know it. But they swear they do.
but they don't. You know, and it's
But you know what that is, though, Joe.
what's
You know
that?
what that is? That's fear. A lot of times.
I agree.
Like a lot of times, it's like kids are scared. And adults, we've all had moments where we're like, "Dang, I made it to this point. What if I take this next step, but I'm not good enough?" You know what I mean? Or I made it to this team that I've been saying I want to play on, but now what if I don't? What if I don't get the minutes? You know what I mean? So it's like my college coach. One of my college coaches used to tell me, "Don't be scared to be good." And I didn't really get that at first, but it's like you work your butt off to get to a certain point. Take the jump. You ready? You know what I mean? Sometimes it's hard for us to take that jump. You know what I mean?
It's called the fear of the unknown.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Kind of seemed like
Exactly.
what happened to you in ODU, man, from sophomore to junior year, right?
Yeah, man.
It was a jump.
Yeah.
It was a little jump. My first year, I was there with Coach Cable, man. God bless his soul, man. Coach Cable used to always treat me like a son. He used to say I reminded me of his son, man. Like he's iconic to me, man. Jeff Cable, man. I love him to death. Went to his funeral. I'll never forget the things that he did for me. You know what I mean? So, anyways, but I came in with him. You know, he was a real military guy. So me and my boy, you know, we came in supposed to be all everything from North Carolina. Like after the first couple of games, I was letting that thing go. Right? He pulled me and Rashid in the office. He said, "Look, I don't want y'all to shoot the ball unless it's off an offensive rebound." I'll never forget it. He said, if it ain't offensive rebound, don't shoot the ball. And I'm like, all right. I'm looking at it, I'm like, ain't no way he brought me here to not shoot, right? So I'm gonna do what he asked me to do. So I go out there, you know, I'm doing what he asked me to do. You know, every now and then the ball swing. I'm like, oh shoot, man, 3 ball. You know what I mean? Now I fall back in my place, whatever. So from that, you know, I got his respect. My sophomore year was okay. Right? They pushed him out of there, and I had Blaine Taylor, who and Kenny Gaddison and Derrick Storiak. These guys were instrumental to some of my progress, even into my pro career. Some of the different fundamentals that I learned, some of the different things. I went from then a small forward to a power forward as well. So it expanded my game.
Yes.
And he was more like, you know, you got to be able to think the game. You got to be able to think the game. So it took me a while to learn his system. But I saw that once you buy in, you can be a big part of the system. So I bought in, man, and you know, like I said, with him being new there, and it was me, Rasheed Wright, Pierre Green, some of the older guys that were there. He kind of had to latch on to us a little bit. He had to latch on because, you know, the boosters and everything, they were on our side. So I was thinking about transferring to Virginia Tech. I think a couple people knew that at the time. So he bought into us, so I bought into him. And you know, it was a little jump from my sophomore to junior year, and I was able to keep leading the team and ride that out, you know, the next 2 years.
Yeah, you went from averaging 9-4 sophomore year to 15-7 junior year.
That's what's up. That's what's up.
That's right. And that's when the light bulb comes on usually for a ball player too in the system. You know, that freshman year can make or break a kid if he doesn't understand what the culture or environment is asking for. And that's like you said. He said just rebound and only shoot off of a rebound, but what he meant was understand how you grow from that to the next step, to the next step, to the next step. He had to bring you back to square one. We had talked to the teacher shop, and they were talking about how Joe Taylor did the same thing. He had all state kids coming in and just breaking them down, saying, hey, man, this is day one of football for you. Don't come in here like you know anything. You listen, you learn, you produce. And so I think that's dope, bro.
Having people in your life like that is a blessing. Those are the people that's going to hold you accountable. You know what I mean? And those are the people that help you. And at that time, I didn't really know what ego was. You know what I mean? Those are the people who help you release your ego. And that's where the growth is at. You know what I mean? You can't receive if you're holding on to your ego all the time.
Absolutely.
You can do it.
What else you got for him, Joe?
I was about to say, since you're a minute away, man, go ahead and preach out and give me a little promo on where the address is, where the location is, so people can go, because we're getting a good amount of viewers. We're kind of getting there, but you know, we got a good amount. So they want to be in Chesterfield, Richmond. Where is it at?
Yeah. So we at the Grind Factory. The Grind Factory is 11531 Hull Street, right here in Midlothian, 23112. If you guys know where the Harley Davidson building is, right off of 288. We're right behind there. We're the only building back here. It's a very private location. We have all of our COVID protocols. We're cleaning up every hour, wiping the balls down, checking the temperature, controlling the traffic, etc. So we everybody got to stay healthy, so we all could be here, myself included, man. Like, I don't know, like if I'm out of the gym 2-3 days, I start itching. I don't know how that.
Exactly.
So like I said, man, I want to thank Lindsay Burnett for kind of bringing me into this situation, man. Like I said, she owns the building. She's in the group that owns the building, and she has the CrossFit, and I did CrossFit my last 3 years. So just a shout out to her. I appreciate everything her and her husband have done for my program.
Big shout out.
Yeah, man. So we got a lot of community support, man. We just want to kind of get it out there a little bit more. Like I said, everything happens with us really organic. It's not like we're trying to do anything, but if we can get the word out a little bit more to help more kids, man, that's why we're here.
Why not?
That's what's up. That's what it is. Yo, we appreciate you having coming on, man. Definitely shed a lot of light. We could have gone all night with this, man.
Yeah, man.
No gems on us, man. And we appreciate that. Sure.
Hey, man, anytime y'all need me, let me know, man.
For sure. We definitely gonna link up, bro. For sure. So just
okay, yeah.
There you go. You back?
Nah, yeah. I was just saying, we just appreciate you having on, man. Coming on and shedding that light on us, man. We appreciate it.
Definitely.
We had
to man.
the ground.
Come see me, man. Come through, man. I'm like I said, Monday through Friday. You probably can catch me here anytime after 3. You know what I mean? For at least 3 or 4 hours. We have sessions going on till 9 o'clock, man. So want to come peek your head in. We've added some big time board members to our this team called Team Marsh Athletics. We got I can't mention it right now, man. We're gonna vote them on. But we got some kind of hometown heroes, a couple doctors, insurance guys, investment guys. So we're about to start getting a little bit more support, man. So we just gonna keep waking up, man, every day, do what we do.
I'm gonna tell my mayor friend of mine to just throw a shout out and holler at you, because that might be some good networking streams as well. Because you deep in rap. That's deep in rap.
I work with him.
Most definitely. Okay. Yeah. All right.
It is.
All right.
We appreciate you having on, man. This is Commonwealth Sports Talk. Ricardo, Marsh. Take it easy, bro.
All right, peace. Appreciate y'all.
Welcome to Commonwealth Sports Talk, as we bring you the roundtable talk. After having Ricardo Marsh on, that was an amazing interview and time spent with him as he has shown us his route that he's taken through the Nike circuit. And I mean, we bring in the topic today, which is grassroots. I say it in the sense that all kids have a route to collegiate sports and possible professional sports, but it all starts with that grassroots. And I'd like to first welcome Derrick and Lamonte on. But just give me your general thoughts, man. We'll start with the big three: Nike, Adidas, and Under Armour. Like, when I say those three, what does grassroots mean to you in that regard? Let's go ahead with Derrick first.
Man, I appreciate you having me on, bro. But
I mean,
when it comes to the grassroots, like you said, you got the three major companies in Nike, Adidas, and Under Armour. But I think right now, Nike is pretty much leading the path to high success rates as far as the grassroots, from the high schools to the colleges to the pros. So I think Nike is definitely the best grassroots route to go. I mean, they sponsoring everything now: NBA, NFL. Shoot, I think they got baseball, if I'm not mistaken. But Nike, they circuits are better than Adidas as far as the talent. And just overall, they gonna generate more money for the public.
What about you, Mark? What you think?
Yeah, I pretty much agree. I think when you look at the brands that are involved in the scope of things, it does for grassroots what grassroots does to the sport, right? Like it grows it. Like, the kids identify with that brand, and they tie it into the sport. And I mean, like you said, it brings the money in, of course, that's number one always. But I think if anything, it gets more people interested, and you always get the heads to turn, right? Like when you mention those three brands, and especially in grassroots basketball, Adidas, Nike, Under Armour, you automatically going to get head turns, right? Like people are going to be interested because they identify those brands with the sport. And then, it kind of is a groundswell. It's like by word of mouth. Like when you mention one of those brands, you get the community to pay attention. You get other sponsors to pay attention. You kind of, they identify it with the level of basketball now, right?
Yeah.
Like that's how crazy it is. Like when you say, hey, this is a Nike sponsored tournament, boom, you can get everybody just like that, right? Like that's the way it is. And I mean, there's multi levels to it, but I like the way it's grown.
I agree. I like both of you guys' viewpoint on that. I just think that it's driven by them from the top to the bottom. And so with them having their imprint on everything, as Derrick mentioned, and leaving a massive impact in communities, as you mentioned, LT, they have a bigger responsibility than what I think they're holding, but at the same time, they're making a lot of routes for people. So I definitely appreciate that. Now, it's your child. It's your route. It's your choice. You've got a Mikey. You've got a great superstar coming up and a kid that's worked his tail off. What would be your route, LT? Take me through your train of thought. We're specifically talking basketball with grassroots, boy or girl. What would be your route and why? I mean, I just want to know how you would think about it.
Well, I think I would definitely want to stress the importance that, the talent, that's instilled in the kid, and the discipline that's instilled in the kid. That's the brand, right? For us, like that's it, right? Because no matter where you go, no matter what logo you're wearing, you can't excel to the next level and succeed without having the mentality that you're still hungry for it every day. And I think that's the important part for me, is that I would want to instill that in my kids, especially if I know that, he's serious about the sport, because we know this, like you only get so many chances, and that, there's only a small percent at the top when it comes to talent, right? Like I want to make sure that he appreciates the spot that he has anywhere he goes, like, because I feel like the brands kind of reinforce the message negatively sometimes on our kids, that they feel that they're entitled, or that, because they're playing for this team or that team, or whatever, that they got it made, or that they can just step on the court and all of a sudden they're gonna show out, or it's gonna get handed to them. That's
LT, Nike, Adidas, Under Armour. Which one are you giving your kid the route to?
Oh, I mean,
I know how hard it is. I understand.
I mean, I'll go Nike. I mean, that's fine. I'll go Nike.
It is the Walmart, Target, and everybody's best regional store. That's what it is. It is Walmart, Target, and your best regional store. That is the trio. Derrick, what about you, man? Route of your child, where are you going?
I mean, we're going brands. I'm gonna go Nike. If we, just for the fact that Nike is what's really like producing in the league. When I look and do the history from my research with Nike EYBL, over 70, at least about 75 to 80% of the NBA players are Nike EYBL alumni players. So the level of competition within the Nike EYBL, if you look at last year's class, you have 6 out of 10 top 6 players playing in the Nike, and that's just out of the 10. And then you have over 50 to 60 of the top 100 playing all in one circuit and under one umbrella. So if I want my child to be competitive and really prepare him for the next level, then I'm going to start with the Nike, because all the top players all the considered top players are playing in Nike. So he's going to get better. So that's going to be the measuring stick to see how serious he is. And then as we go, then we climb the rates and push the training, because as a parent, you don't always support the child, but at the same time, you're not going to waste money if they're not going to really put the effort in. I mean, it's still you loving and you caring and you support your child's dream, but you got to know when your limit is too, because at the end of the day, you can't live your dream for your child. They got to put the effort in to do it. So, I mean, I probably go Nike just because of the exposure. And at the end of the day, the goal is college. So it really doesn't matter if it's Nike, Adidas, or Under Armour. The goal is to get a degree paid for.
Absolutely. That is how I closed it out. I'm glad you closed it out that way. It makes it shorter for me to speak on. But the Rally of Child is going to be great for all three routes because all three routes have a success plan. All three routes are different. All three routes are unique. So with Under Armour coming as a not last minute, but the newest of the three, they've surged their name into the likes of those big three. And with Adidas, I mean, they've never really seemed to have pushed anything more than soccer, put it that way. I mean, they've been known to do other things, but soccer has been their go-to. And to be relevant, that's credit enough. Nike, inside route. Oregon started it. Oregon pushed it. Oregon monopolized it. They have more time with the ability to accelerate through their sports and their promotion, and they just beat everybody to it. But at the end of the day, I believe it's still the same route through all three programs in regards to your kid going through the grassroots. So,
I mean, yeah, it also is a regional thing because Nike don't have teams in every region, or I mean, not every state. So sometimes you might have a Adidas team that's the best team in that state, and you might have an Under Armour team that's the best team in that state. Like example, you had the team with Jalen Suggs and Chet, homegrown. They was Under Armour. They Team Sizzle, like that was the best team they had in Wisconsin. So I mean, it just all depends on your area too. But if you can get on the Nike circuit, then I mean that's probably the best route. But if you got to settle for Adidas or Under Armour, that's not a bad route either. At the end of the day, you're trying to get your measuring stick for where you want to be.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So in your perfect world, I guess, how would it look? And we can go ground up because I'll give you mine and flip this whole approach and start with mine first. And then maybe you can feed off of this. So yes, it is sponsored by professional athletes because that is the top dog, if I'm not mistaken, on the tier of your sponsorships with these shoe companies. It is the professional athletes. It is then maybe the collegiate schools, or it could be flipped. It could be the collegiate schools and the pro teams with the collegiate or with the professional athlete, but that is your top tier. And then you go down to your actual college programs because your Louisville's, your Virginia Tech's, your Duke's, all of them are the big dogs, but then there's still so many others at the bottom that still wear that Nike stripe or still wear that 3-check or still wear the U, and they have to balance itself out. So that money is long in college sports, but it should be sent in a better route, I believe. I believe all these shoe companies, hear me out, I believe all these shoe companies should just elude from college sports, make them go back to Russell and all that dumb stuff, because they just want their money, but I get it. But if you create a brand new system similar to soccer with program development all the way down from age 12 up, you can kick all the NCAA in the butt. So I just think that the power that these shoe companies have is it's a little self-driven, but at the same time, if they could just be forthcoming about their approach, they could really solve some of these problems and spread the love to these kids. Because we're supposed to have at least 3 times the amount of basketball players that we have. And if we're the #1 country with basketball, we should have 3 times the amount of professional players anybody else have, or at least have it in that light. You know, baseball, #1 of the best. How many systems do they have? You see what I'm saying? Like they're going to compete every time in the World Classic because we've got enough to pull from. Basketball, you're telling me that you're going to squeeze a lemon until it can't be squeezed anymore. And then if it's not good enough because it was potential in the first round, that he loses the contract and he has to revert overseas and hope he plays. Like these kids should be somewhere on a second-tier program. And it just kills me that Nike, Adidas, and Under Armour have not come up with that yet. Any thoughts?
I mean, I think that the G League is taking in the last few years have taken great strides to try to help fill that void. But I also think college got to take some of that too, with not letting these kids come out one and done. Like my child, they wouldn't do one and done regardless. Like how good or how talented they is, mentally and physically, they're not really strong. Not really ready for the NBA. Like if you look at most of these one and dones that are very talented players, they don't last but a season or two in the league before you go unheard of them and a new class is coming in. And that's just a lot of the time they're not physically strong enough or they don't have the mental reps enough to even sustain the 82 game season. So that plays a part, but then you also got the part with college players not being able to be paid. So therefore, these shoe companies have to be the sponsorships to get these kids notice and things like that. Whereas we able to pay these college students, then the college students can kind of pick their own brand of shoes or what they want to wear, which then can open up different deals and avenues. But that's a little too much to bear right now.
Shoes and uniforms are sponsored by these shoe companies. Let's be real about that. They are the number one driving force. Then you have the media pushes from like the NCAA tournaments, conference tournaments and stuff like that, big games, so on and so forth. But they push and drive it. And so if they pull, you know how much money that they would lose in the NCAA? So the NCAA would be under stress if that happened. What about you, LT? What you got for me?
I mean, I feel like all those systems feed each other, right? The fact that Nike was founded in the college realm, like you said, through Oregon, and even, the first big deals coming from John Thompson and them, all that time, like that, they need each other, right? Because NCAA brought that level of brand and sponsorship to what it is. And at the same time, that put Nike on the map, right? As the dominant brand. And at the same time, it's like, I hear what you're saying about the NBA, and I'm going to get to that in just a second, but I feel like they're the double-edged sword, right? They're the Apple of basketball in our country because it's the access, right? Like, because the access is so lucrative, it makes it the dominant brand, right? And everybody's trying to live up to the dominant brand. So if you get something that's more or that's just as competitive with that, it kind of it doesn't diminish the name of the brand, but it doesn't make it as gold standard as the way it is, right? It's like it's the NBA. It's like you said, it's not many positions, but it's the Bentley of basketball, right? It's like everybody wants it, whether they're in the country or not. And then when it comes to dethroning the NCAA, I'm definitely with it. I mean, I feel like you need to get like almost the mindset of like Amateur. Have you seen the movie on Netflix, Amateur, with the kid, and he actually, he gets what was it, suspended from high school play because he basically tampered or whatever, but then he gets an agent and actually declares himself a professional. I felt like that kind of stuff is really important. You look at the LaMelo Balls. I mean, he went overseas and basically did the same thing. But I mean, that's
more to the point of the Nike, Adidas, Under Armour taking over and having a circuit, having a program, because the only difference from the Lucas to our 19 and 20-year-olds now is that Lucas been playing versus grown men since he was 14 years old.
Exactly.
We got 14-year-olds playing against 14-year-olds. If they're good, move them up.
But
Since they're such in a rush to spit them up and chew them out because of the first round potential and stuff, if they're that good, then move them up.
Or bridge the gap, right? Like have you, like you said, have the brands that in between where college age kids can get paid but still be on a professional type of level where it's in between college and the NBA.
I'd rather blow it up and start from scratch if I was these shoe companies. I wouldn't want to divvy money between the Division III company that you're paying the sponsorship to versus the Division I and then all of the sports within it. Like, I just think that's a big number for the shoe companies to break down when they can come up with their own blueprint in regards to these sports.
But does the G League kind of split that difference that Lamonte's talking about?
NBA is the first. NBA, I mean, baseball has AAA, I give it to them, but NBA is the first in modern times to show that we're trying to change. AAA's been there forever. AA, single A's been there forever. But with the advancement of a G League, I think that's the NBA saying we're not going to allow the shoe companies to do what I maybe just said, / let NCAA screw over that bridge that we're talking about. So the NBA is going to try to expand from G League to USA team to NBA And if they can expand that and go even further to like the 15 to 17 developmental teams that they produce through Nike and the NBA or however that's sponsored, that's the route that the NBA can expand on. But they are going to end up pissing off the NCAA doing that. So it's going to happen either one way or another.
Yeah, you see how it always comes back to either the NBA or the NCAA. That's what I'm saying. There needs to be a third power at B so that there's not, it's not just a teeter-totter thing. And that's what I mean by the access, right? It's like it always goes back to either one or the other because they've literally monopolized the sport.
Nike, Under Armour, and Adidas is double swooping and just rotating like the TV show networks. You rotate the contract on the AFC Championship game or on the Super Bowl. You rotate, so they're fine with Adidas having the NBA for 5 years, and then when it goes up, Nike gets it for 5 years, and they're fine splitting that because they just keep swallowing up all of the markets. And that's all they're doing. So that's why I say either they're all in cahoots or they're just not trying to get better, because they should get better with that. Final thoughts, though, gentlemen. Final thoughts, grassroots. Derrick, what you got for me?
Um,
As far as Virginia, stay with Virginia with me. We kind of went everywhere, but stay with Virginia and grassroots with me if you can.
if you're looking for the grassroots, in Virginia DMV area, if it's basketball, you gotta either go Team Takeover or you gotta go Boo Williams. You have a team loaded, they play in Adidas, but if you're looking for Nike, you're going Takeover or you're going Boo.
Mm-hmm.
Boo got some producing pros right now and some stellar players in college right now. Like they got a top 5 leading scorer in the country as far as scoring, and Cam Thomas. They got Keldon Johnson doing his thing for the Spurs. So, Boo making some noise. That'd be my grassroots.
LT, what you got for me?
Yeah, I'm thinking, if anything, it's like it's regional, right? It's regional. Like he said, Boo's got the lock on, most of Virginia. But
Doing it the longest.
Yeah, 757. And then you got Northern Virginia, which is close to, that mecca of basketball in DC. And then you have that. And then, in between, you got like you said, the team loadeds, right? Where they settle for where they are. They take advantage of the resources. So, it's no surprise that they're in Adidas. I say, yeah, Nike's, Adidas, Under Armour, right there.
I think it's just a territorial thing, as we all talked about, in the region of where you're at and how you're determined to be, what the main brand is, and then everything trickles down off of that. Kevin Durant's out of Maryland, but Kevin Durant has his team, his Nike team in Virginia as well. They train at the St. James and the Alexandria Fairfax area.
And don't forget, Kevin Plank is right there. Under Armour was based out of Baltimore, Maryland. So,
exactly.
Resources.
So this is a tough market right here. And if you go to New Mexico and you go to, Texas and Oklahoma and all, that's not where these brands originated from. So that's why it's probably not as hard to make a decision there as it may be here when there's so many right next door to one another. You got kids traveling 2 hours just to play ball. So
yeah, at the end of the day, to play on that team, you end up with that scholarship.
That's the whole goal, man. But I know, with basketball, that's the ultimate goal, but there's so many strategic routes being made with these collegiate programs that it is hard to always say that every kid that goes Nike or every kid that goes Adidas or every kid that goes Under Armour has got a free route. It's obviously dog-eat-dog world where you got to, bring out that beast in you just to cream of the crop. Like you said earlier, D, you got to want to be in the best competition, then that's where you go. You want to play the best, that's where you go. It's all on your perception.
It also depends on what your goal is. If your goal is to go to the league, then that's cool. But if your goal is to go to just school, it don't matter which one you go to. At the end of the day, free education, that's the main goal.
It is. Free education.
And that's kind of what I was getting at, in terms of being the brand earlier. It's like, if you're the best, pretty sooner or later, wherever you are, you're going to be known as the best, right? And so you can set those trends the way you see fit when you're the best. And I think that's the thing is the main thing, be the main thing.
Well, there you have it, gentlemen. I mean, I really appreciate that feedback. We could talk about grassroots too long. I had to hold Derrick off a lot because of his knowledge on grassroots. You know, we bring our group of Commonwealth Sports Talk analysts in, and we get our expertise on things. And there's certain areas that we're stronger at, and we know that. And so we just try to expand our knowledge and what we have based on information from the state of Virginia. And so this grassroots thing is real deep. It's deeper than rap in Virginia. And so I know a lot of people have a different perspective or perception, but at the end of the day, they're all three of them are in the state. All three of them are alive and running, and but we know how those kids have to fight to get through those grassroots. So I definitely appreciate what Ricardo Marsh is doing, our guest for this week. I definitely appreciate y'all's time, gentlemen. You know how we do with Commonwealth Sports Talk. And we're going to go ahead and bring on the triangle next week, which is our breaking it down from the 757, 804, 703 angle perspective from Virginia. So that should be a great one, and everybody should be on that one. So stay tuned for that as we bring you Commonwealth Sports Talk. Be safe, fellas.